Absolutely.
Everybody looks at her, and they go like, right. And you see a particular halfling. She's about slightly taller than the lady you're talking to, and her skin seems to be bronzed. But somebody who actually just works outside a lot, etc. And she seems very muscular, right? And she's like, shakes her head.
Does she look like she has similar features?
Yes, very much so. They could almost be twins.
Okay. So in that case, when I approach with my hands very clearly visible, the first thing that I will do is I will count how many of the halflings there are here.
You would say almost like they're more than your fingers can count.
Okay.
That's all.
In that case, it will just be a pile of them then. On one of the tables, I will druidcraft just a pile of flowers and be like, as a present, if anybody would like one. I know that this is not a common thing to see. So if you would like one.
Actually start doing the thing. A couple of guards are like, what? And she's like, relax. And they're like, right. And you do the thing, right? But they have the eyes fixed on you. And you see the kids. The moment you put the flowers, the kids just rush over and start picking at flowers and this is mine. And they start fighting. It's like, children, they're gifts. But I want this one. And you basically wildflowers as marigolds and stuff like that. And it's like, and dandelions. And one kid just sort of turns to another kid and just blows the dandelions on his face. Like, mommy. And they start fighting over that. And she's laughing. And then the others are there like, like she's happy. The kids are happy. Everyone else seems to be, I mean, you don't even have to do insight. It's just kind of off, right? Which is the more benign, reaction to your
one. Yeah. It's only one. I am thrilled with that. So, first of all, I wanted to say thank you again. But following up, I wanted to give you an opportunity if you wanted to. Me and my companions from Narwhal are seeking a sponsor for the arena, and you were the first person who came to mind. Because I know that you had fun giving the people a bit of a shock of a kobold dancing.
Yes, that was very amusing.
So it was a good time. I like dancing. But I figured if we're going to go and win, it may be an equal shock and maybe even on a bigger scale.
Interesting. Interesting indeed. I do know someone who might be interested in sponsoring you, now that you ask. He's a human, but don't worry, he knows how to deal with all kinds of folks. Let me see what his name is. Ellen, just say that I sent him, where I sent him, and he should try to help you. He will drive a hard bargain. Be careful. Don't give too much percentage away. But if you manage to convince him that you and your team are good for it, then he might give you a shot.
What was the name again?
Elim. Elim. Elim Trask.
All right. We will definitely follow this up.
You like to stay? Have some tea, perhaps?
Absolutely, I would love to.
And the servants come in and they give you tea and all that. And again, you clearly know that she's having a wonderful time. Her glee is undisguised. Everyone else is like, they start looking for excuses to just sort of go away, right? And like, oh, we're gonna do this and do that and go back to the house, etc. And but she's just delighted that you're there. And she starts asking you about your adventures in Narwhal and how is it there, and it would be great. The one person that sort of sticks around, aside from the guards, is this lady that looks very similar to her.
All right, I will go full explanation, go into details. I'm not going to mention Webford as long as that lady is there.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I already know that there's plans for a visit, so that is a proper mention.
Okay. Yeah.
I will go and talks about seeing like the world of the Fae, all of those details. Not too gruesome, but just touch on it and then see what digs deeper. And then as I'm leaving,
Mm-hmm.
I will actually personally address the woman who stayed. It'll be, I can see that my presence is a bit shocking, and I can understand that. So thank you very much for letting me stay and having a wonderful evening or afternoon.
Well, you're my sister's guest, and guest of my sister is the guest of the Nibblehands.
In that case, because you were so gracious, I would like to offer back. Once the more established, there is a Baron, which I'm part of adventuring with. And once the barony is a bit more presentable, a invitation personally from myself.
And she said, "Oh, um," and she looks at her sister and says, "Yeah, just." Her sister has a grin to ear to ear. It's like, "Oh, yes, Baron," she said.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I didn't catch your name. Sorry.
Absolutely. My name is Hugh.
Is
I don't believe I have a last name. I've not been told if I do.
It's totally man. Your last name's man.
yeah, Hugh the man. And she nods, and let's see what her name is. Give her a name, shall we? Her name is Sandras. Sandras. Just gonna put it in the chat so that everybody knows. Not the only. And she identifies herself as this time. I have so many windows open here. She says she is she is Lady Knight Sandras of Mayaheen, servant to Mayaheen. And she's nice to have met you.
The pleasure was all mine. I will politely leave.
Mhm.
And for the individual who escorted me, I did not want to say it in front of everybody just to keep reputations. But if Lady Nibblehand would like to get a hold of me, she can check here at the tavern that insert tavern we've been staying at.
Okay. What's your perception? Your passive perception?
Well, my passive perception is actually really good. 16.
Yeah. As you, what do you like? You speak Draconic and Common, right?
I speak Common, Draconic, Druidic, and Giant.
Okay. As you're leaving, you hear this very clearly. The conversation starts with what you're thinking, and then switches over to a language you don't recognize. Similar to the common tongue, there's a lot of crossovers. Like you pick up a few words, but more from the tone, right? So they're having a very heated. These two ladies having a very heated conversation as you leave.
Yep. I was fully expecting that. That's why I didn't say out loud. Well, as I was leaving, what I told to the individual to tell her.
Yeah.
But no, with that, I go back to the group and I will give them the information.
Okay. Gar, you've been here for a while, and one of the things that you notice is there's a young lady, apparently human, that's been trying to get an audience with some wizards at the guild with not much success. And she's trying once again today. And basically, you bump into her the moment I do that. And I don't know why there's in my window that's not open, but apparently it's in the main.
Which one?
Uh,
Celeste is open.
yeah, so that's open.
Yeah,
There's also there's other windows that I close and appear open in the chat.
Yeah, because I haven't closed them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, until I run out of window space, I just leave the previous ones open.
She seems to be coming in and out of the guild and rather angry. And she bumps into you. It's like, oh, excuse me, sir.
Surprised I didn't knock you over, given my mass.
She kind of she can't focus on you. It's like, I guess the wizards come in many types, I suppose.
Quite
I
literally,
apologize.
it's called a spell called polymorph.
Right, I'm not familiar with that. But sure, I gotta go.
The bathroom is that way.
Yes, of course. And you go in and see most of the people that you know are wizards, and maybe you find someone who knows about this.
Well, I mean, just to interpose real quick, you know what I'm about, so you know what kind of person I would be looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, the people that you know in the guild that deal in your stuff, they try to avoid public attention.
Here's the tact I feel like would be most appropriate for Gar to intercede with. They try to avoid attention. I'm not so much. This is kind of the one chance that they'd be able to publicly test their theories without anything coming back to them.
Well, the problem is that any sponsor, the sponsor has to be public.
Right, no, I understand that, but it's not the sponsor doing it. They have deniability. I didn't know he was doing this.
Yeah,
I thought I was sponsoring the weird tortoise creature thing. He did not make it aware to me. All I did was fund him.
They hem and haw about this. And one of them says, because there's, a couple of them, right? And one says, "Oh, that blonde lady was she was talking about something about Rakian and trying to do some divinations about him." Which, of course, I'm sure that the upper echelons denied on the fact that Lord Rakian is a very important person in the city. But if you want an in on those games, she might be the person to talk to.
Thinking out loud here, as I often do, no mental filter was all. It seems weird to have a gambling tournament when a world with divination magic exists.
That's one of the reasons why we are prohibited from using divination magic.
Yeah, but how would you know? Right? How if I divined the winner of this tournament 3 years ago and then came in to bet today?
Yes, it's because we tend to police ourselves. Someone else will have to do it outside of the guild.
Are you saying that someone has to divine all the people that would divine the gambling?
I'm not a diviner. I don't know how that actually works. But I think there's some. And they start talking to us like, "Is there actually one way to?"
Seems at the end of the day, you're going to have like 1,000 people that are going to say, "Hey, this was rigged." Somebody knew the bets ahead of time. They didn't even have to gamble on who was going to win. All they had to do was play the field, bet against the highest ranking loser, right? Shift the bets.
I think there's some anti-cheat, and they just start discussing it. But these guys are clueless because none of them are diviners, right? And in the guild, there's some other people that are diviners, so they're like, "How did that actually work? Can you do that? That long? I don't know. Really? You can make a lot of money out of that. I don't think it works that way." And then, so now they ignore you and they're talking about the possibilities of what you said to them.
You switch the topic.
Yeah, you just like they're fascinated by
here's
this.
the problem: is that Gar would equally be as fascinated. So
You spend like a good half an hour or more, and they even pull some other people into it. Someone says no because the longer range of the divination is, the more the Istus, who is the Lady of Fate, tends to make sure that only she knows the truth. And so there's like, no, but that's clerical bullshit, and the gods don't really work that way. And so they poke someone else in, and there's like 5 or 6 people who are just debating the idea of how much can you truly divine to get that exact to make. Because the thing is that you can get a glimpse of the future. Basically, you get right to the point where they tell you can get a glimpse of the future. The problem is, in order for you to benefit from that, especially the long term, you would have to make the kinds of changes that would guarantee that your divination comes true.
right, but that doesn't preclude interaction. Does not preclude result, right?
No, actually, someone says it actually does. He says because, and he tells you about theory about the deities and why deities are not all powerful. That a deity cannot claim to be, for example, all knowing and all doing.
Right, but some deities became deities through their own power. Therefore, godhood does not preclude omnipresence or omnipotence.
True, but omnipotence and omnipresence preclude each other. And he starts debating because he says basically someone who knows everything. Someone basically the theory is, and you make a very long theory short, is that someone who knows everything can't do anything, and someone who can do anything cannot know everything.
Right, an object observed is frozen in time. We all know this. This is 101. What I'm saying is that if an action divined has to be acted upon, then that action can also be acted upon by methods not themselves determining the course of events. I can determine that a thing will happen by a butterfly's wing, right? It doesn't have to itself cause the action to come into play. It has to merely cause other actions themselves, which would cause said action to come into play.
But
a truly divine divination wizard would be able to, without properly interacting with anything, cause an event to happen the way that they have foreseen.
He says, well, no, because at some point they would have to intervene with the object in order, even if it is to reap the rewards of the divination. And at that point, it changes the outcome, even if it's so slightly.
Right, as I said, the flapping of a butterfly's wing, I think I'll term the phrase butterfly effect, will then cause said action to occur, ipso indirectly, and thus with no indirect contact.
Then you get no benefits from the divination. And they continue. I mean, this conversation goes in circles, and you spend like a good hour and a half, and they keep pulling more people. It's like, no, and somebody pulls a book and says, no. Certain someone says, It's like, no, that's, and someone says, no, that's the chess master versus overlord dilemma, right? And someone says, no, it's the immovable object versus the intractable. And so they just, you basically pulled in like 5-10 wizards just discussing this idea.
I feel for the sake of the party as a whole, you should just say Gar has written off his day because he is spending his time here.
Yeah.
The patron thing is important to him, but this discussion right now, he's not leaving.
Yeah.
But you see, Gar is well hydrated, so he'll be the last one standing here.
Oh no.
So eventually, in fact, what happens later on is as nightfall comes in, everybody's like, let's take this discussion to the bar. So now there's like 10 wizards and apprentices and all that. You are in the center of a small army of apprentices and wizards, right? Of all ages and some different races, mostly humanoid races, elves, humans, halflings, that sort of thing, mostly humans, who go to the nearby bar. And as they get drunker and drunker, but you don't get drunker, you only drink water, they pull in strangers and members of the university. And at some point, somebody punches somebody in the face because somebody said, utter the words you're never supposed to say to somebody who is like in an academy. That is stupid, and you're stupid for it. And there's a brawl.
Yeah, there's some shout in the back. If it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. Punch.
Yeah, and the chairs are flying, and the guard gets called, and you never got an answer to whether or not you could actually use divination in order to know what's happening. Oh, not that you didn't get
I
didn't get
think
a
what
definite
happens
answer.
is the classic Gar response is he asked a question, somebody said one thing, and he automatically took the contrarian opinion. He didn't get an honest, truthful, right answer. He got a Gar answer.
Yeah.
Gar
And
is the
basically,
most wizardy wizard I've ever seen.
yeah.
Gar creates a schism in the Wizards Guild for discovering temporal mechanics.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So how many
Which-
city blocks are leveled by the brawl via the wizards?
And somebody screams, "You cannot change time. Time is immutable. No, by the very presence of time, it can't be changed. It's only perception. Shut up!" And
Just
a
because
bottle
it's the
flies
only
in.
solution doesn't mean it's a a good one. Chair slam.
Yeah.
I-
Nobody's using
I-
magic, by the way, because they don't want to burn down the tavern. Apparently, everybody's sober just enough to not to stop from flying fireballs and pulling them through.
I'm honestly shocked
But-
none of them asked a cleric.
Yeah.
True.
Oh yeah, because you want this brawl to be even bigger. Yeah.
I think
Besides that-
we've involved theology as a study, not
Yeah.
as a actual field craft, right? So we don't
Yeah.
actually want to know what the clerics think. We're just good enough thinking that we know what the clerics think.
Okay.
Well, the clerics don't think; they believe.
Right, which is not our field of study.
Gosh, put into this discussion, it's like, oh, time works in mysterious ways. Like, what does that mean?
Ours is a realm of faith tested, not faith believed.
So Gar attempted to get someone to sponsor them, but no, they didn't get him. They failed.
Not
Best
quite.
Gar story yet.
Yeah. Meanwhile, during all that, Kix, you go to you have your paperwork, and you go to the guild of basically scriveners and attorneys,
Right.
and they say, well, you have to commission a shield, and you have to commission a heraldry. And that is the thing that will go into your signet ring. So, 50 gold, if you're going to pay the full price at 50 gold, it covers all of that. Right.
Okay. So I'm going to definitely put in 50 gold for that. So that's going to put me to 5, 6, 7, 79 gold left. And then while I'm there, I'm also going to ask, what would the cost be to make a second ring, but minus all the heraldry or paperwork? A fancy special ring. As long as I'm having a ring made anyway by the same people.
Well, that would be with the jewelers as well. How much
Yeah,
are
so
you
the
willing
jeweler.
to? How much are you willing to spend, sir? I already have rings available.
Oh, well, let's go ahead and see them. What do we have here?
I mean, the prices can go as little as, say, 50 silver, right, for a simple copper band, all the way to several hundred gold for diamond and what have you, right? Platinum with diamond or emeralds, And there's big, thick rings that are usually for merchants, and like you have dainty little rings for ladies, or you have all kinds of jewelry. I mean, you could spend.
I think at this point, Kix is looking for like one of the ones that has like some sort of nature-ish emblem on it, like maybe a horse, spider, leaves, something like that. Something that he thinks that like Hugh will definitely like.
You could commission one.
Yeah,
you could commission
so
one.
I'll
That will
definitely
take
commission one.
Yeah, it says a good silver ring, perhaps. You mentioned that that Hugh is a member of the Fellows of the Lady of Alona.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I'm definitely going to mention.
Oh, it says, well, yes, for about, I don't know, 35 gold. We can give you simple silver ring with a unicorn inscribed on it.
Oh, that would be absolutely perfect. So
no rock. If you need to add a precious, semi-precious stone, that would double the price, of course. We have to make sure that's smaller enough.
We can come back for the rock later, at least.
Yes.
Or for a different one. All right, so Kix is now on the has now paid 50 gold for heraldry, for jewelry, and then has paid an additional 35 to get a second ring.
Okay.
There you go.
What is our heraldry supposed to look like? What colors and things are we planning for here?
Good
Jake?
question. I was gonna just kind of leave that up to you, but
Okay.
off the top of my head, something red, black, something with a shield.
That sounds easy to
Everything
make.
after that, I'm not sure yet. I'd have to start puzzling. Asking me for creative details. Ugh.
All right, I got you.
Cool.
Oh boy. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, Hugh succeeded in getting a contact. You go in the afternoon and meet Elim Trask. This gentleman right here. You met him in the Artisans Quarter. He owns a vast sort of factory, if you will, of pottery. So when you go, you see jars and vase and all kinds of pottery. Like you basically go into an open yard, and there's like dozens, hundreds of these. Some of them you know that they're for water, others for wine, like say Castle wines, others just for flowers. I mean, all kinds of things. And you see some people picking them individually, some people, and also like pots for flowers and all kinds. But you see hundreds of them, right? And you can see a lot of people like potters basically working clay and almost in a serial manner, right? Almost factory like. And you see this figure sort of walking between and looking at them. It's like, and then you see someone working and they're apparently doing something wrong, and he has this cane and he literally picks up the cane and just whacks him at the head. Like the guy's like, it's like, and he points at it. He doesn't even say anything. He points at it. It's like, again. He keeps walking. The guy has to stop the wheel, take the malform now, whatever he was working on, get rid of it, and start again. You see someone is working, and there's a cat who's sort of putting its paw, like wants to play with the thing. And he's gonna go and he's actually gonna whack the guy, but he sees the cat, smiles. He says, "You'll pay for that. Come out of your salary," and keeps walking. Because it's ruined. The cat is ruining the whole thing. So
Absolutely.
So
100%.
yeah. But he doesn't want to. Apparently, he doesn't want to scare the kitty away for some reason. And so he's walking around, and so what do? And people are coming back. Nobody's paying attention to you because, well, you're small, and people are carrying huge vase and on their shoulders and putting in the back of carts, and people are carrying. You see some people chopping for things like that. We're talking about probably 1,000 or more. And people are painting them and all kinds of things. So yeah, this is a big operation.
In that case, I would walk up to if there was sort of a counter or a desk in sight.
Yeah, you see across different, almost on these aisles, at the end of one of these aisles, there's several people. Well, what happens is that people go down an aisle, and each aisle are divided into different types of pottery, right? And so if people want the big jar, say for oil or wine, they go down that aisle, and there's somebody with a table, right, and signing and getting gold or silver, whatever they're paying. If you want things for flowers, you have to go that one other aisle, and at the end of the aisle is someone else, writing and stuff like that. And you see this gentleman sort of that you described to you walking and looking over, agreeing, disagreeing, doesn't say much, and moves on, right? And people say hi to him. It's like, Master Strask, and he's like, he nods and he keeps walking.
Yep. In that case, I will approach one of the people who is who's the equivalent of the cashiers,
Mm-hmm.
and be like, excuse me, I'm down here.
Call the rat catchers.
Hey, I'm here on official business. I am not causing any problems. I assure you.
Do a charisma check. Make it a good one.
Can I? Okay, yeah, it doesn't matter because I'm not proficient in either deception or persuasion, but
Just a straight up charisma check.
it's the same thing. So 14.
Yeah, he looks at you as like, are you gonna buy anything or not?
I would actually like to speak to Mr. Master Trask about sponsorship for me and my group in the arena. I was sent here from a contact of mine.
Contact, right. God helps me, I'm gonna regret this. Master Trask, there's someone here to see you. And you see him in the forest of and he turns around and carefully
The ceramic forest.
Yeah, and you hear him, the king him. And he stands and he looks over your head at the clerk. It's like, yes. It's like, Master Trask. He's like, oh,
I'm also wearing my fine clothes.
yeah.
Doesn't help much, but it helps a little bit.
What can I do for you?
So I went to speak with a friend of mine, a lady Nibblehand, and she suggested that you may be interested in sponsoring a group for the arena spectacle.
And he sort of kind of walks back on his heels, is like, you spoke to Lady Nibblehand, and she specifically told you to come to me.
Yes. It was not our first meeting. Our first meeting was at the recent get-together thrown to introduce new barons, where one of the members of my group was given a barony in the south.
Oh, right. Go back to that again. You spoke with Lady Nibblehand at a celebration for the introduction of a baron that you claim is your friend.
Yes.
Does this baron have giant claws, wings, and breathes fire too? Is that?
I've never seen wings, but I've seen the other two.
Excuse me?
He's dragonborn.
That kind of backfired on him.
Dragon. I'm going to regret this.
I believe the events of the party had both him being given the barony over the recent estate of dealing with the Stag Lord, and then some guy in like really dark armor who looked like he didn't talk to his mom enough.
Would you be so kind as to wait? And he points with his cane to inside the building. My office. I will verify this.
Absolutely.
It might take a while, so please
That's fine. I will relax.
Please don't touch anything.
Can I touch a seat to sit down?
That'll be fine.
Okay.
And he's like, boy, yes, sir, and call somebody. It takes about a half an hour for whoever he sent to come back, and you almost hear it because it's like, so what is it? He's being very loud. And it's like, yeah. It's truth. It's like, okay. And he walks in, and again you hear the he comes in, closes the door. Literally, this office is like sort of a central building, really, but it's like a little corner, like a door. It's almost like it would be like a bathroom, right? It's only there for him to sit down, have a table. This is very minimalistic. This guy, doesn't spend any money on his operation than he has to. He's literally wearing all his money in the rings and clothing and his cane. But this place it's purely functional. There's nothing that says ostentations or like that. This is a pure business, right? And he sits and goes like, so, the good lady tells me that your name is Hugh, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And that you and the members of your party, so they are interested in participating in the games, right?
We absolutely are.
Looking for a sponsor.
Indeed.
Well, I don't want to distrust the good lady's name or blemish it. But would you be so kind as to fetch the other members of your party so that I may meet them?
Of course.
And so if I am, shall we say, satisfied with who they are, then perhaps we could make some arrangements.
I would absolutely love to. When would be great for me to get them and then return?
Well, you would be meeting here. Let's say, where could we meet that would be agreeable? The lady forgot to mention that this is my place of business and I don't do other business besides, well, pottering, I suppose.
Which was why I went to speak with the person who was dealing with lesser details than you were, out of respect.
You are very considerate. Yes. There is a little establishment over at the garden quarter, the Nymph and Satyr. You can meet me there and your companions. Make sure you bring everyone who will participate, of course. Have their letters of introduction or whatever it is they need. And we negotiate from there.
I do have one question, because alongside me, when I am in combat, I
Yes.
do have a mount.
Yes.
But my mount isn't allowed in the city.
Some strange beast or monster, perhaps?
It's not strange, it's just really big for what it is. I think it's called a giant wolf spider. I've trained him, and he doesn't bother people. But
He leans back and was like, really?
Yep.
And it obeys your commands.
It does.
And it fights with you.
100%. One time, when we were going through the process of getting the barony, because we had to stop somebody who was bad, I was sent as the scout. So I was on his back and we were like scaled along the walls. It was really cool.
Now that is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Well, we can make arrangements for this. It's part of the process. It might cost a little bit more to make sure that your animal companion, mount, is both unharmed and available to you. Of course, if you were to lose this animal companion among the games, then, well, that would run up to you. But
of course.
But sure, this will actually make something very, very interesting indeed. Cobalt and a giant wolf spider.
Yep.
I can see this. Yes. Oh, this is very good. Yes, please tell your friends that we'll meet tomorrow night at the Nymph and Satyr. Be prepared to. And he writes a couple of documents and he seals them, saying, "You're going to need these, so that's you don't have a problem with the guards going into the garden quarter and entering the establishment. I will have word sent ahead that you will be arriving and will be in my party. Also, I would caution all of your companions that any weapons will have to be left at the door. The clientele gets very nervous around swords and axes and that sort of thing.
That should not be a problem. Thank you for your time.
Now, if you excuse me, I'm a very busy man.
Of course. Little legs get moving through.
And you hear in the background, wolf spider. I like it.
High perception paying off.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get back to the establishment, which I'm just going to say that Hugh never actually looks at the name because the sign is too high up for him to read.
Yeah, it's also a very big sign, so, it's easy to see from a distance. Almost as if it was made for the eyes of an ogre.
Exactly. Guys, I've got us a meeting.
What time of day is it?
It's the afternoon. You're
in a brawl.
You're in a brawl, so,
Yeah. So I get back, I walk and I say that, I'm like, oh, no one's here yet.
Well, everyone else is here.
And then I go sit down.
You're walking
everybody's here.
you're walking down to the tavern to tell everyone the news, and guards are just rushing by.
Yeah.
It's another wizard, bro.
but yeah, everybody but Gar is there because Gar is enjoying his tepid water and the drunken humans and elves and others who are just punching and kicking each other.
Okay, everybody. I talked to a guy. It's actually kind of funny because my journey started with vases, and they were everywhere. It was like a forest of them. But he said that we can go talk to him at the Nymph and Satyr in the Garden District, and he may sponsor us.
Interesting. Wait, so with a pottery merchant.
Oh, I don't know if he's a merchant. He might be like a merlord or something like that. Merchant might not be enough.
Maybe a pottery wizard?
No. Gar's a wizard. This guy doesn't. They're not magic. People make them for him.
Hmm. Well, what about you, Gar? What do you have?
He's not there.
I'm 5 blocks away, but I can still hear you kicks, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I'll just like look over to where Gar's spot would be. I'm just like, huh, that's weird. He's always here to kind of rain on my parade.
It's that scene from Beetlejuice where you see like a giant cockroach drinking some water, and you say, "What?" You flash your eyes, and poof, it's gone.
And Bearcat, what about you?
Well, let's find out. So during my part of the day, seeing as I don't really know where anyone else lives yet, I guess I'll go talk to the Castellan
Ah,
so that I can find people.
okay.
So I'm gonna try and get into a conversation with him first.
He is very busy, but they do pass the message along. He does basically says that he basically tells you, the directions. He's basically he's like, you don't know where your companions are? Well, fine. And basically passes on the places where they were staying, right?
Well, I'm looking for like people from the party.
Oh, people from the party. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you looking for anyone in particular?
Malik, Marissa, and I guess whoever might is in charge of the guard, whether it's the captain or whoever.
Yeah, there's someone else. Captain General is in charge of all the military of Greyhawk. Basically, you won't be able to get him. He was there but he doesn't take visitors unless someone he actually knows. And he only talked to Braith because he was under his command when he was a junior officer.
So yeah, just whoever I can.
Yeah, so you would be able to get Darius. Shown to you. Lady Toronescu. And who's the other person? Oh, yes. You do get a contact with Ironheart. Let's see where I put him.
Okay.
Roland Ironheart. So, yeah, he gets in contact with them. So that talk to them. It could probably take you most of the day. He does say that Lady Toronescu is rather cold individual, and mentioned that she is from a family in divers. What her business is in the city at this moment, he cannot tell you, but he does remind you that he had that confrontation with Kix, a rather weird confrontation where she accused him of murdering her brother and then thanking him for it.
Yes, that is something to think about.
In fact, talking more about Lady Toronescu, she says, if you can, my master, he's talking about, you're talking to an intermediary.
Yeah.
Master is curious to see if you can find any information that might share why the Lady Toronescu is here. He is most curious about her, but doesn't want to, shall we say, embarrass her in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I guess I'll talk to Ironheart first, since that's gonna be like the quickest thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so I'm gonna tell him that I am coming on behalf of Kix and Braith,
Hmm.
about a potential request that they have regarding one of the guardsmen that Braith served with.
Okay. Why not? He actually greets you personally. And in fact, his home, because there's no embassy, official embassy, uh, per se. I mean, this is medieval times, so kind of doubles as embassy.
Yeah.
His home is actually near the artisans' quarters, the traders and merchants guild. And he says, "Right, come in." And again, in this place, once you come into the main doors, everybody's a dwarf.
Yeah,
All of
that
them are
makes
dwarves.
sense.
No humans, no elves. It's as if you were living in dwarf country. You stepped into dwarf country.
Mhm.
And you mention him, and it's like, and they bring it to him. It's like fine, and he's actually sitting in a round table. Everybody's having drinks and having a discussion. Do you speak dwarvish?
I don't think so. No.
No, so they're speaking in dwarvish. And but when he sees you, somebody taps on his shoulders and they say something like, "All right, lad, sit down, lad."
I
And they
sit.
make space for you. It's like, yeah, sit down. It's like, so we were
Very hospitable,
discussing
those dwarves.
where we're thinking, and everybody kind of looks at you. It's like they look at him, they look at him. It's like, he's fine. He's a good lad. He was the one who talking about we met in the party. Oh, the dragon fellow made a baron. Oh, the city's getting crazy and crazier every day, and every night apparently. And they just have a laugh, and they're mixing dwarf in their languages. So there's a lot of things you can't catch. You can do an insight.
Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah.
I'll succeed.
Yeah, this is when they switch to dwarf or they include dwarven words. It's just natural to them because it's what comes to them. It's clearly not meant as an insult. Like people are talking in another language, so they don't include you, right? But Ironhead never corrects them. Apparently, it's natural for them to just do this in front of people. In fact, some of them actually, you notice some of them are, as they do this, they're eyeing you to see your reaction to it. How do you react to it?
I'm trying to not be offended or anything. It's just something they do, I assume. So it's fine if they want to, have their own conversations. I can understand that.
Yeah. And slowly but surely, they stopped doing that once they figured out that you were not overly offended, and they switch to the common. Highly accented, but they switch to the common. They
Okay.
try hard to. In fact, when someone else like 5 minutes later says something in dwarvish, uh, they like, and they translate for you. Right?
Okay.
You get the feeling that they were testing you and see if you were, you're going to offend it or try to your hackles got raised, something like that.
Mhm.
And they keep talking. It's like, yes, well, the new offensive, the Prince Coron's going to launch a new offensive against the orcs out in the west. How many people are betting that this is not going to be the same as the last year's? Even with the help of the elves, it's not enough. It's like, oh, it's going to be different, etc. Blah blah blah. And they introduce you. They introduce you, and you realize that they introduced you, but they kept the conversation, and it's all about this conflict between the Principality of Ulek and the orcs of the Pomarch. And you get a vague sense of what's happening. It's almost like it's a discussion for your benefit, but not. It's informing you what's going to happen, but not directly talking to you. That nobody asks you questions about it like that, unless you want to jump in and have an opinion. And they do that for about 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
And you get the gist that lands were lost to the Pomarch well over a century ago. less than a century. About a century ago, after it was called the Hateful Wars, where elves, dwarves, and gnomes just went to town where there were a lot of orcs and goblins and basically killed a lot of them. The survivors left and they invaded the Pomarch, and in the process, the Principality of Ulick, which claimed rulership of the areas and areas nearby, lost quite a bit of territory, and ever since they've been trying to get back their territory. And it's like, yeah, and basically it comes to a draw, and so he gets up and he sort of pats you in the back. It's like, well, what do you think about all that?
So, in this war, the survivors,
the orcish goblin and other humanoid survivors invaded the Pomarch and established what eventually will become the Empire of the Pomarch.
Okay. And
which is right on the border of the Principality of Ulick, which is the kingdom mostly kingdom of the dwarves, right? And in the process,
Ulick,
they expand. Yeah, Ulick has lost
Ulick
territory.
lost lands to the orcs who were surviving. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit complicated. That's why it took minutes to explain. Yeah.
Okay, I think I get it now.
Yeah.
Well, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the orcs. Or
I never met anyone who is, but no way, no. Although you have a kobold with you. That's a very interesting story right there. How the hell you got a kobold not to, gut you in the middle of the night and steal all your belongings? Or your intestines, whichever.
I'm not quite sure. I think it has something to do with a forest goddess that's has something to do with this region. But I'm not really sure.
I'm not much of a religious person myself. Don't let my papa tell that he's a big follower of the gods, but
I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it seems like the orcs have stolen territory that isn't theirs.
Well, that's what the orcs do usually.
How that offensive will go, I'm no military commander. I couldn't guess.
Oh, but you see, if pressure could be put from other angles, then maybe not this offensive, but the next one or the next one after that. Now that could work. See what I'm saying? A certain military positions on the border.
I understand where you're coming from. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That could be arrangeable. Though there is still work to be done.
Of
on
course.
Our own end.
I tend to forget that many immortal races live as long as the dwarves. So it takes a while. Yes, patience. Patience is always a dwarven virtue. Well, for most of us anyway, unless we're drunk, in which case it isn't.
But in the future, I think that could be something worth exploring.
Mm-hmm. I mean, war is such a messy business. I would not like to have people commit themselves until the time is right. But first things first. So you were saying, lad, about what brings you here?
Braith, the cleric, I believe you spoke to him.
Mm-hmm.
He served with some guardsmen here, and he and Kix were talking about getting people that we could bring in to assist us. And Braith mentioned this guardsman that he might be able to have a position over in the newly constructed keep there as maybe one of the leaders of the guard. But there is also the issue of like transfers.
Right. Paperwork.
Yeah.
And he screams to someone. It's like, it's like, what? And he whispers to him, it's like, I think we can arrange that. I mean, I know some palms that can be greased to make this. Who is this fellow again?
I believe his name. One second.
It was Nihilus, but
I'm glad you're selling him that way. He's got his headphones off.
Yeah.
All right. I believe his name was Nillis or something of the like. He's got a wife who's pregnant or something.
You don't want to stick in the stinking city. Not that I think the city of Greyhawk is stinking, my spotlight, but just saying that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know it's not for everyone's taste. I actually absolutely adore it here. So many big women. Anyway, um,
But yeah.
and
So
yeah.
paperwork and such. Now,
Oh, I'm sure I can arrange something. The question is, exactly how would that help us here, lad? I mean, immediately or such. I mean, bringing down people down there. I'm sure you want to grow your little domain, and that's fine. But you know, it will require me to grease some palms. If you want this done quickly before the lady gives birth here on the road, and needs requiring of greasing of palms and such. And well, I don't know. Oh, I'm a very busy person. You saw I'm having a conference here with my fellows here. So
They need
Mhm.
bribe money.
yeah, I know that.
Oh, I wasn't okay. Sorry.
You know how politics work. Well,
Oh, this is modern politics. I'm sorry.
yeah, it is now. Well, you see, if the keep were to have competent leadership in the future, there would be opportunities for us to have a greater military strength, possibly even ourselves leaving the area to go.
Okay, I want to make a clarification because I think I said something I was missed. What the guard is looking for is a new place to live.
Yeah,
He actually wants to become a farmer.
Yeah, I mentioned that previously.
Yeah.
The idea was not to put him as a guard anymore.
However, having farmers available is also very important to a growing keep as
yeah.
well, right?
Okay.
Food, taxes, that sort of thing. Once you
For
have
our
one
local
family,
community.
yeah, one times a family comes in, other people come in, etc. So yeah, it would be a good start, but it wouldn't necessarily. I mean, maybe you could convince him at some point to become a military officer, but
Okay.
that's not the intent that he has at least expressed to Brave. But so just so that I don't
Okay.
want this to. People keep saying, "No,
Yeah,
this guy
yeah,
wants to be a captain." And I go like, "No, that's what I didn't say that like sessions ago. It's like, oh, now you changed it to that. I want to avoid that before it becomes a bit of a
All right.
problem."
So well, I believe he wants to be a farmer or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that would greatly assist us in food production. Once one farmer comes, they all come.
They tend to farmers, the peasants like to lump
Yeah.
themselves like that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, now you are already making a somewhat sizable investment, I'm aware. Yes.
Oh yes, yes. I believe my boys will be ready to go as soon as you want them to go down there. A sizable force of masons
Mhm.
and such.
Mhm.
They're not actually from the Ironheart clan. They are from the Smoothstone clan. But
Huh,
we have friends. I
that's
know
quite
people who know
interesting.
people. That's how it works. Or should I say, I know dwarves who know dwarves because dwarves.
Well, I'm sure he would want to, you know, have this new place to live. But as for what you might gain, you know, a further investment could mean a further return.
Go on.
Now, if we have our own food production, if this plays out well, we might be able to produce extra food. We might be able to gain more economic benefits that could be returned in the future. You could even have Baron Kicks be a more personal friend if he would be interested in that.
Personal friendship with the Baron is. My papa used to say that it's very important to have low people in important places. If you know what I mean. I'm not saying that your Baron is, well, it loses something in translation from the dwarf. I'm sorry. But yes, this would be interesting. It's a small favor, I can take care of it. Shouldn't be much of a problem. Sure. When do you want this lad to leave? When having a couple of days, to get in contact. I can expedite it, but I cannot rush it, if you know what I mean.
I'm not sure that there's a ton of need to expedite it, but sooner rather than later would be nice. Probably at around the same time that your builders come, actually, would be appropriate.